And now it's time for Photo Booth Live Chat with John Young.
Hey, we are with you live out there on the internet world. I think, wow, things are actually working. Ross, you brought good luck. Oh, Ross Akselrad is with me tonight. Good evening, Ross.
How you doing, John?
There we go. I was going to say, did we lose your mic? No, we're good. Okay. After the first show and having so much issues with that, it's nice to have everything up and running. And I got to switch because one of our backgrounds is still on. There we go. Yes. Okay. Good. Unfortunately, I got too many windows stuff. So tonight, gang, the initial plan was to talk about adding a photo booth and expanding that. We're going to hit on that a little bit, and then I want to kind of Ross, after we talk about that a little bit and expanding that photo booth side, let's talk about more diversifying our businesses, because that's one of the probably biggest lessons a lot of people are finding coming out of this with this situation going on.
And now it's time for Photo Booth Live Chat with John Young.
Stream dies or is impeded, let's call it that sometimes having the other ones. So let's kind of we'll get into that a little bit. But first off, for the photo booth operators out there who have done, they've got their first one, and they're seeing that they've got bookings. And I think we're going to have this once things open up again, is that all of a sudden on a given Saturday you're probably going to have calls for 5 or 10 type of thing, because everyone's going to be wanting to put their events the same dates. Where do they start when it comes to expanding that photo booth business?
Well, when I first started expanding my photo business, I really try to go eat what I usually recommend to people. If they start with something easy, and I think they're going to have a success. If they go right to the most difficult or the most, time-consuming thing to learn, I think it's a little bit of a misstep. When I did things, I did it easy. I went with a simple roaming booth, or I added just something like a simple photo favor with a camera and a background and a printer. So I think those are the easiest ways to do things. It really can get you started really quick and without a lot of learning curve, and you can start making money really rapidly, and then you can start diving into the more time-consuming one. You have to program, and you have to learn a lot of hardware and how to troubleshoot stuff like that. My first thing was a traditional photo with a point-and-shoot camera that I had one of my guys be the quote-unquote photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I had a backdrop that I got off of Amazon for like I just took the memory card out, popped it in the laptop, hit print, and it was as simple as that. And it wasn't very expensive, and it was so it was rapid fire, real quick. Started a lot of money with it. Added another one that branched into the more complicated photo booth stuff.
We're dropping a lot of having a lot of interference on the video there, Ross. I don't know if
really.
Yeah. Your video is paused out a couple of times, and we're hearing about every third word right now in this last probably 30 seconds here. Where you were talking about, we could make out that you did the camera and the memory card and computer thing, but yeah, it's almost like everybody in the world is video streaming tonight. It's one of those,
probably.
It's one of those nights. And for those of you who have been watching our shows for the last number of months, and the last couple of weeks, of course, because everyone is out there streaming DJ sets and streaming educational content and motivational things and such. There's only so much bandwidth available in the world. As much as we like to think it's unlimited, it's not. And unfortunately, it has become a little more difficult to be streaming and such out there and doing stuff live. So, Ross, you with me again? You look like you've kind of froze up there. Oh, there we go.
I'm here.
I see.
Can you hear me?
Yep. I see a little bit of movement there. So you mentioned keeping it simple to start off with. Was it simple? Did you go that direction just because it was easier for transportation? Was it because it was easier for staff to learn? It was less intimidating. What was really the major factor in going simple with that as you expanded?
To me, it's staff, because if you can't yourself, like I can't be everywhere and do everything myself, it has to be staff can easily do, and that was behind it. Number two is probably transportation. Number three was probably how quick I can recoup my money for the investment, and so on and so just became less and less important as you go down the line. But those top three, definitely staff, because you have to your people how to use these things. And with did with the traditional photo favors, almost everybody knew how to operate a camera or a laptop and print from their computer. So it was pretty easy, and that's why I went that way initially, definitely.
So when does a person, so you added, doing the photo favors, when did you expand, or do you say, okay, I need to get something, upgrade my game or up the game a little bit? When do you get to that point?
Well, I think you always want to be changing, and you always want to be offering something new and exciting. I think it got to a point where regular photo favors needed something else. Then I went to screen and did green screen photo favors, added a choice using the same equipment that I had. The only thing I had to buy was an actual green screen, and then use a green screen program. The green screen program I bought was $100. Never looked back, and it was simple and easy. And then as that started to get stale, I introduced an actual photo booth. Started with that huge photo booth. I kind of went the wrong way. Take my own advice. I went with a huge, complicated photo booth. It was probably about 500 pounds. It needed 3 people to transport it in my trailer or my truck, and it was impossible to use and make money off. It was just so hard for people to understand, so hard to change paper, have to enter in a code when you change the paper. Every little staff just would constantly call me, how do I do this? How do I do this? The printer's not working. This isn't working. So from that point forward, I actually sold that and just went simple with other booths and simple things, photo booth wise. Easier, the better, especially with me and being a multi-op. I had to make it easy for my staff because I can't be everywhere at once. And that's the major force I do is if I'm doing my own event, I can't be getting calls all the time saying, hey, this isn't working. That's not going on. That's not work. Can't do that. So it has to be simple, especially for my business.
How quickly, and this is an area in which I've as a multi-op person also, I've had that. One of probably the biggest lessons that I learned is when you see a situation like that, it's quicker to cut and get rid of it. How long did you hang on to that and try to make it work before you basically said, this isn't going to work and it's out the door?
Truthfully, probably about 6 months.
Okay. So
we booked it on a bunch of parties because we were getting it. We knew about, we fulfilled those parties. And then at that particular point, I just said, it's just too hard. It cost me too much to have 3 or 4 guys come out, tools, all that stuff to build it every week. It was a pain. So I just decided at that particular point, probably after 3 months, I started researching a new booth.
Yeah.
And when I finally found the new booth, I pulled the trigger on the new booth, sold the old booth, and then decided to just call all my clients and tell them I had a great new, exciting, brand new photo booth that wasn't available, and everybody was happy to get the brand new one. So.
Sure. And that is I've with different gear over the years, especially with the multi-system where you have staff out there, and as you say, is that those phone calls are some of the most, as the owner, it's some of the most frustrating phone calls that you can get. And it's like the sooner, for any of you out there who are looking at hiring staff and doing that, when you see something and you're like, oh, you're starting to think that maybe you should pull the plug on it and get rid of it, and because it's costing more time and more money. As soon as you get that idea, do it, because if they don't heal themselves. Not a bit.
No, it does not.
Not a bit. So you went to something simpler. For the somebody will ask the question, oh, if you would have trained them more, make that statement. There's some situations though, as you say, with the size, it just took too many people. How does your newer one now? Is that still using a couple of people, or is it a single person?
It can be. We usually send 2 people out whenever we do printing. It's a social booth / a printing booth.
Okay.
If they're just using the aspect with texting and emailing, we only send 1 person. Send the 2 people. So it's a lot easier. It's all more compact. It can fit in the front seat of a car. It can fit in the back seat of a car. It can fit in the trunk of an average, 2-door or 4-door sedan. So
Sure.
that's the great thing that I like about it. It's not heavy. So a lot of my girls who were having trouble, they couldn't be part of the larger photo booth thing. Now they're just coming to the office, grabbing the photo booth, going on their own, and I don't have to worry about them. Plus, we simplified the software, and we went to something that's very easy. It works with internet or without internet. It'll queue the photos if there's no internet. So that's a fantastic thing for us. So you can kind of continue to use the booth. And that way we don't have a lot of, hey, this isn't working, or hey, that isn't working type things. But I think our only issue now is sometimes the internet gets a little spotty.
Right.
So when the internet gets a little spotty, it queues up the photos. Then the internet gets better, and boom, it just all of a sudden sends them all out, and
Yeah.
we're good to go. So that's the only thing that we got going on right now. Other than that, it's pretty easy. When it came to a training standpoint, though, for anybody who was thinking, well, you should have just trained your people a little bit more. We do trainings. We have manuals. We had videos. We did in-house, Sunday, come on over. We're going to be here for 8 hours. We're just going to train. We're going to have you set up and break it down, set it up and down. We did all those things, but you'd be surprised how many times people get things in a matter of a few days, and then even a few weeks. So people just kept not remembering, and it became a problem where we even sent the manual, actually taped it into the photo booth.
Mm-hmm.
So they had it reference, and I would still get the calls.
Yeah.
And so it just made it a lot easier just to get rid of it and move on.
And again, another, as the manager or owner or what have you, is some of the stuff, because we have a different comfort level when it comes to the stress of an event, because we probably maybe designed it or what have you, we can troubleshoot it much more comfortably. It's amazing when you have staff and they're like, okay, I don't want to screw up, because if I screw up, I ruin these people's day, and my boss, who is who pays me, is going to be upset with me. So there's all the stress, and they put the stress on themselves. And it's like, if they would just calm down, breathe, and then look at it again. But that doesn't happen many a times when you're dealing with staff. So as the simpler is definitely the better. So you mentioned, of course, that making it easier to set up was a big part of being able to have more people doing it. Because some of the early photo booths you mentioned were 500 pounds. I'm guessing that you had to have a team of very strong, strapping people to be able to move those pieces around. With the smaller gear, is carrying things in and out, is that much of a concern with you anymore? Oh no. I was wondering if it was frozen. We'll see. Are we back?
We're back. I moved somewhere else just in case here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. I was wondering. It's like I wasn't catching movement out of the corner of my eye, and it's like, okay. So I'm going to give you the question again. You mentioned, of course, that you have some smaller systems and such, because the big ones were 500 pounds. It took some very strong people to set those up. With the smaller systems, is it something easy enough where a smaller statured person can transport these in and out of venues easily enough by themselves? Or did we lose it again? It's actually a pretty good picture of Ross right there. I mean, it's giving you that thoughtful. This could be kind of a meme right there. We could capture that. I think we may just be having an internet a struggle with the internet coming off that East Coast tonight. Ross is out in that New England area, out that direction, out towards the East Coast. We'll try again here and see if he's got connection. Well, you went to a different device. We can see that.
Yep, here we go. I just decided to go with the phone instead, so I hope you don't mind if it's a little shaky.
No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. So tell me about. I'm going to rephrase the question. The smaller systems. How easy is it for then the smaller statured people to be able to haul that in and out, or is that still kind of a problem with these smaller, simpler systems?
No, the smaller, simpler systems are really a lot easier. It's a minimal setup. Most people in my staff can set it up by themselves. It's not heavy. I think the heaviest piece we have is probably the printer, which is maybe 20 pounds with the case. So it's really pretty easy for everybody to do these smaller systems. And for me and my multi-op, it's just smaller is better. And easier is better. What I've noticed, as much as I love photo booths, and I was just at the convention, saw you there, there's so many great photo booths and there's so many great things. But what I find is when you get to an actual event, the people aren't like, oh my gosh, that photo booth is so huge. That's awesome. It looks great. I can't wait to use it. Truthfully, they're just excited to get their photo taken. And if your software has some bells and whistles, great. Like my software has digital props. Mm-hmm. My software has filters. So it looks like Snapchat. Who doesn't like that right now?
Right.
So everybody enjoys it. And so I went smaller and more efficient from that particular standpoint.
So since you're a multi-system, let's look at the side of it where continuity across the company. Do you have pretty much the same booth or the same type of booth, or are you selling different booths at different price points?
Well, I do have I have 8 total booths that are very similar. The housing is custom designed. So we kind of made those. Actually, the guy next to me made those. Here in my office, I have I'm in an office manufacturing place. So nice. Every 2 steps you run into a manufacturer. The guy next to me is like, I was telling him about my photo booth. He's like, oh, I can make one of those. So we made one of those, and we have about 8 of them. They're great. I have even some custom ones. We have round ones, square ones, all different weird shapes and stuff like that to kind of, change it up a little bit. But truthfully, we sell the experience. Mm-hmm. That's what we sell. We don't sell the actual booth per se, as much as we sell the experience and the fun that the guests are going to have in the actual booth when they're using it.
So in essence, in gear, they may have a slightly different look, but really the outcome is going to be the same. It's that kind of social, and they can add the printing capability if they so choose.
Absolutely.
So as you look forward, is that kind of the direction? If somebody came and said, "Hey, Ross, I want to get into it. Which way should I go?" Is that the way, or is it something that you would say that this works for us, but it might be something to look at, having the base and then having bigger. Which direction would you advise for someone who's maybe in a different market?
Well, as I said before, I'm about starting easy and starting simple. So I would always tell people start with something that they can do by themselves. If they can do it by themselves, then it's easier to teach other people how to do it. It's also easier to operate it overall. And then start looking at other things, branch out. I was at the photo booth convention and I'm looking at, maybe I want a 360 booth. Maybe I want this, maybe I want that, because I'm to the point where I can do something larger or bigger or better or different, I should say. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to research exactly what we want to do. And, it all comes down to what we feel our staff can actually accomplish, because as cool as it is at seeing it live and at the reaction that everybody's getting, if I can't teach it to my staff and I can't send it out without them not having to be able to call me, then it's not worth it for me.
Yeah. Then we're back to that. Yeah.
For a multi-op, that's key. If I just did photo booths and didn't do anything else, didn't do DJing or production or any of that stuff, it would be totally different, I believe. I think it would be, the more booths I have, the better, because then I can offer a bunch of different things because I'm a photo booth company.
Mm-hmm.
I am an event production company. One of the things I offer is photo booths. So it's just one of the things I offer. It does not have to be the primary thing for me. So it's a little different than if I was just a primary photo booth operator.
Excellent. Excellent. Good thoughts and good advice. Yeah. Your connection is so much, you're better now.
I just got to pop this here into the holder and I'll be good.
Yeah. Go ahead there. We can get if you've got that handy. So Russ, let's spend a few minutes here of our time is after you get things connected. Let's kind of talk about. There, are you good?
I'm good.
Excellent. Let's take a few minutes here to talk about diversifying our income. As you mentioned, you do a variety of different things, and if there's one thing that we're seeing is granted, this situation that we're in right now is more massive than even what diversification can help, but there are times where we need to diversify our business and such. For those who are out there, and again, we didn't talk about this in advance, gang. So this. I'm kind of putting Ross on the spot here. If somebody is coming to you and saying, "Hey, what can I do to diversify my business and to be able to give me some additional areas in which to survive situations where weddings are on a downturn or whatever," is there anything that jumps to mind right away that could be some potential areas that the DJs could look or photo booth operators could look?
Sure. Unfortunately, nothing can prepare you for a pandemic.
Yeah.
Where you're not doing absolutely anything. Although we have something here that we're doing a lot of now, and you probably are familiar with it with in your line of TV and online streaming. We're doing a lot of live streaming for a lot of townships, municipalities. Even the state of New Jersey, we're doing live streams for that. There's a lot of things that we're trying to do that are just more based online for this particular situation. Since this is kind of one of those out of the ordinary situations, and if this was just an average, regular time of year or whatever, and let's say you get slow in July or August, or you get slow in another part of the year, diversification, I think, it starts with relationships. Because when I first started my DJ company way back in 1994, that's all I did. I just did DJing for events. After about 5 years, I started looking around. I'm like, how can I make more money? Is there something I can do that's going to help me be better than now, or is there something I could do when maybe my slow season for DJing hits, but maybe a fast season for something else can hit?
Sure.
And that led me to photography and video. And at first, I had a friend who was a videographer. I had another friend that was a photographer. I said, listen, if I sold photography and video, would you be able to facilitate it at a high level? Would you be able to do this? And they were both sure. I could use the extra income because they had, a job on the during the week, but they're struggling.
Yeah.
So we kind of banded together. I started offering photography and video, and that just spiraled into this amazing thing for us, where it went from entertainment. Now, while I'm talking to you about entertainment, I can talk about photography and video. I can help my bottom line, help them make a couple of bucks. And then also during down times for me, photography was still going well. In January and February here in the Philly area, it's a little slower for larger events because people are afraid of weather interfering. So a lot of the synagogues started avoiding January and February altogether with bar bat mitzvah dates. So, but we're still doing a lot of school dances and elementary school father-daughter dances, and all of those needed a photographer.
Yeah.
So the photography went up, even though the DJing went down. And so that was a great thing to do. And it just started with a relationship. You don't have to do everything, quote unquote, in-house. If you can partner up with somebody and maybe they give you a nice wholesale rate or even below wholesale rate because you're actually selling their service,
right,
you can actually, pad your bottom line a little bit, and then develop a nice relationship. Now, if you have the means or you have the relationships where you can just bring it on and do it in-house, I do recommend that eventually. That's what we do here. Everything we do is in-house. So, but I started with it not in-house. I started with two friends,
Mm-hmm.
and they facilitated everything, and I collected a check, which was great. So photography and video were my first things. Then I branched off into where now we have an on-staff wedding planner. So whenever she gets hired to do a full, planning and day of, running of everything and coordination of everything, that's money I make.
Yeah.
Because she's offering that. She's doing the work and she's getting handsomely compensated for that, but I'm also making money as well. We even have a bunch of clients this year that aren't using us for entertainment because maybe they're using a band, or maybe they're having something smaller, backyard, whatever, but they're still having a wedding planner.
Yeah.
So I still get them as a client, which I can market to them for future stuff. And then they're also being handled by our wedding planner. We also, on the bar mitzvah side, have a decorator who does all the centerpieces, and I had a blast at Joey's bar mitzvah stuff, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of ways you can diversify. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you initially do in-house. You can eventually get there if you have a nice relationship. And I think that that's the best piece of advice I could get to. If you love working with a photographer or a video person, hey, get together. Let's have lunch when this is all over, and or let's do a Zoom call right now. This is the perfect time to start implementing these things and build those relationships and find ways to do things that can help you with your bottom line. And then, of course, you can branch out into other stuff. I know some of my DJs make their own music, so that's something cool. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm busy running a business, so I can't really make my own music, but they do that, and that's something that they love, and they go and try to sell that and do their thing. So there's always something that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a question of what direction you want to go in regards to your company.
Yeah, I like that idea of networking and developing that, for lack of a better way to describe it, kind of a one-stop shop concept. And
that's the first line on our website. You reach the one-stop shop for the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. And as bridal shows, the bridal show people, as they meet and talk like we do for DJ events, and the word that we're hearing from bridal show people is that bridal shows are on their way out. Some of them are still successful, but most of them are starting to really see it. And with this concept, I think that the value of that networking, as you just described here so wonderfully, Ross, is going to be the future, as opposed to some of the things we see at bridal shows. So good advice, good thoughts there. So Ross, if people have any questions, or if they wanted to reach out and ask something about, expanding their business in that fashion, what's the best way for them to reach out and get a hold of you?
Well, they can get to me any way they want. My website is www.pulseyourparty.com. That'll take you to my personal Pulse website that I opened up in 1994. We have 3 websites. So we have partnersinsound.com, and we also have flat-com for weddings and for corporate stuff. So directly, though, email is the best way, and that is Ross, ROSS, at pulseyourparty.com. And then when I reply, you'll see my cell phone number right in there for you as well. Yeah. Good with emailing, texting, all that kind of stuff. But Ross at pulseyourparty.com is the best way to get me.
Excellent. You guys want to reach out and ask questions? Please do. Got to hear Ross speaking down in Las Vegas at the Photo Booth Expo event, and he did a wonderful job and has given a lot of great information from the stage. So thank you for that also, Ross. I appreciated having you down there.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. It was my first time in Vegas, so I had a ball and teaching the class at the Photo Booth Expo and at yours was amazing. Yeah. It was a great experience, and truthfully, the thing I liked most was people coming up to me afterwards, and even the next day or the day after, saying, "You know what? I never thought about that," or "You know what? That was such a great piece of information. I'm going to try that." And I never thought that I could just do a simple photo favor, or I never thought I could, And to me, that was the best part. I actually, where we were staying at the South Point, they have those horse stables and the horse tracks and stuff like that. So I wandered in there, sat down, and some guy came up to me. He's like, "Weren't you the guy that did that talk?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, and we ended up talking for over an hour. He was from Atlanta, and we were just shooting ideas back and forth. And
Nice.
I gave him some stuff that I didn't have in my presentation, and he later called me, 2 weeks after the expo, right before all this hit. He's like, "I just tried this thing out, and it really worked. So
Nice.
thank you so much." And I know he was planning on trying some more stuff, but unfortunately, I think we all got shut down. So
Yeah,
we'll see. I'm sure he'll take it once we're done and roll with it. So
yeah,
that to me was the best part.
excellent. No, that's always fun to hear those types of stories from people as they're out there, taking some of the advice that we give and utilizing it and putting it into action and having success. It's always that heartwarming feeling that yay.
Absolutely. That, and the support of everybody else too. Big Daddy introduced me at my talk for you, and that was great. I mean, I've known Big Daddy for years, and never had him introduce me before, and that was cool. And seeing all the friendly faces in the room, just being there to support, who already have photo booths and already have stuff, but they were just there to support me, was great too. So the industry support was fantastic.
That was good event. Looking forward to 2021 down there in Las Vegas, February 22nd through the 25th at South Point Casino with Photo Booth Expo. It'll be a great time, and I think that's our 7th show next year. How time goes. So, Ross, thank you very much once again for being with tonight, and thank you guys for being with on tonight's show. We will be back. I think Wednesday night we had another photo booth show, so we'll be doing another one on PBN TV. Good night, everybody.
Bye.